Hi dear friends and subscribers, welcome to the Cricket Happening Show today with your host Ram. Well, in this part of the cricket show, we are going to, there is one exciting, as you know, the T20 World Cup is starting, and we had an exciting, thrilling T20 match happening in Bangladesh, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. It went down to the wire, and of the last ball, 3 runs were required. Perera was the bowler, and Anamul could not get. In fact, probably there was a bit of contention whether it was a waist-high ball, could have been called a no ball over the waist probably. But well, in the end, Anamul was bowled by that full toss, and it was all over. With the last ball, 3 runs required. In fact, 17 runs were required of the last over, and Anamul almost got Bangladesh to victory there. And finally, of the very last ball of this particular match, Anamul was out, and Bangladesh losing the last ball thriller by 3 runs. So that is so the first T20 match. So in fact, Sri Lanka won by 2 runs. So actually they lost by 2 runs with they were finishing 2 runs short. So I'll be taking you down to the excitement there and recreating the excitement for you, dear fans, friends, subscribers. And finally, the clash of the titans has started in South Africa, where definitely South Africa held sway for the most part of the day. In the sense, the first session was totally dominated by them. And as far as the first half of the day's play was concerned, it was South Africa who dominated proceedings by having Australia on the ropes at 98 for 4. But then a great recovery was staged by Shaun Marsh, who never probably would have expected himself to be in the team. Just because Shane Watson was not there, Shaun Marsh got the nod. And you know, he has not been performing so well as far as Australian domestic cricket is concerned, but still he was preferred by the selectors. And you know how true, I mean how justified the selectors would have been today, because what happened was Shaun Marsh went on to put a 199-run partnership along with his partner Steve Smith, where both of them had taken the score from 98 for 4 for Australia to a position of great strength at 297 for 4 at stumps on day 1 of this first test match between Australia and South Africa, which was played at the Centurion. Shaun Marsh has gone on to his second test century. He was still there undefeated on 122 with 12 boundaries. And Stephen Smith, who has scored a lot of centuries, as you know, in the Ashes series, he really showed what a player he is for Australia. Really once again coming to the rescue of Australia and making an unbeaten 91 with 12 fours with Australia from a position where they were definitely being held in a tangle by the South African bowlers. Finally, due to that partnership, were sitting pretty on day 1 of the first test match at 297 for 4. But first, let's go to the thriller and enact the thriller here. Now, first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what happened as far as I'll take you down to the thriller later. First, let me just talk about this match. As I said, the T20 matches are gaining a lot of importance, especially considering the fact that the T20 World Cup is around the corner. And Bangladesh and Sri Lanka clashed here at the Zahur Ahmed Chowdhury Stadium in Chittagong. Bangladesh had 2 debutants today. One was Arafat Sunny, who definitely bowled beautifully. I thought Arafat Sunny is a left-arm spinner, and Mithun Ali was also included. But Mithun Ali, well, he didn't have a good debut at all. He was out for a duck. But just talking about the match here, Sri Lanka were the ones who first batted, and they put up a decent score of 168 for 7. In fact, Bangladesh were the ones who actually won the toss. They inserted the Sri Lankans in, and Sri Lankans put up a total of 168 for 7 of 20 overs. Well, dear friends and subscribers, unfortunately, due to lack of shortage of time today, I wouldn't be able to really give you a full report. But as I said, I will just take you down to the excitement. But generally, I will talk about the game. So Bangladesh, Sri Lanka were the ones who actually batted first, and they put up a score of 168 for 7 of their 20 overs. The feature being the opening, even though Tilakatne Dilshan was dismissed cheaply by the Bangladeshi captain Mushraf Murtaza clean bowled for a duck. So that was 7 for 1. After that, Kushal Perera was absolutely in his element. In fact, one was really seeing glimpses of Sanat Jayasuriya, the chairman of the former player and now the chairman of selectors for Sri Lanka, and definitely Jayasuriya would have been pretty happy to see that an young player like Kushal Perera was slamming the ball hard and high, and what a knock he played. In fact, he was the one who really gave the impetus to the innings, and he was the highest scorer by slamming 64 runs. In fact, he hit 4 boundaries in one particular over. I think it was of Sohail Ghazi. He put Mushraf Murtaza over the ropes for a 6. He slammed Shakib Hassan for a beautiful 6 by really showing glimpses of the old player Sanat Jayasuriya when he used his wrist to send a ball over the ropes for a 6. And such was his power and timing. He contributed 64 runs of 44 balls with 7 fours and 1 6. Chandimal contributing 18 of 15 balls with 2 fours and 1 6. Sangakkara made 11 of 6 balls with 1 4. Sakuge Prasanna was out for 4. Angelo Matthews contributed, not out 11. And the end there was a brief flurry with all-rounder Nuwan Kulashekara compiling a quick 31 of 21 balls with 1 4 and 2 6s. Tisra Perera was not out on 19 of 16 balls. It was really it was Tisra Perera was not out on 19, and normally you don't see Tisra Perera such a big hitter of the ball even after playing 20 overs. I thought the Bangladeshi bowlers bowled very well to Tisra Perera because they kept him quiet, and he contributed only 19 with no 4 and no 6. Normally Tisra Perera is a hard hitter of the ball, and one is really surprised to find that Tisra Perera's contribution was 19 runs of 16 balls, an unbeaten 19 at that, of 16 balls with no boundaries and no 6s. Surprising. Senanaik was not out on naught, and Sri Lanka finishing off on 168 for 7 of their 20 overs. The bowling, Mushraf Murtaza, the captain of the Bangladeshi cricket team, 4 overs went for 43 runs with 2 wickets to his name. Sohail Ghazi, 3 overs went for 29. Kushal Perera took heavy toll of his deliveries. Rubal Hussain, 4 overs, no maiden, none for 27. Shakib Hassan bowled well, 2 for 27 for him. Arafat Sunny on his debut, the left-arm spinner, really bowled excellently, I thought, bowling on his international debut, 3 overs, no maiden, 2 for 17. Farhad Reza, 2 overs, no maiden, none for 18. As far as Bangladesh were concerned, they were given a target of 168 to win from 20 overs, and they started off in right earnest with Shamsur Rahman and Tamim Iqbal really playing well. Shamsur Rahman was driving the ball well down the ground. Tamim Iqbal was piercing the ball through the point area, and he was looking pretty aggressive. And then Shamsur Rahman contributing 22 runs of 15 balls with 4 boundaries. Tamim Iqbal contributing 30 runs of 25 balls with 6 fours. In fact, Bangladesh got a very good start. They put up a good opening start of 52 for the first wicket. After that, Anamul haque was there, and he was the hero. He could have been the hero, but unfortunately not. Shakib Hassan contributing 26 of 17 balls with 2 fours and 1 6. Nasir Hussain making 16 of 13 balls with 1 6. And suddenly, when Mithun Ali, the debutant, was out for a duck of the very first ball he faced from Kulashekara, and Farhad Reza was run out for 7, things were not looking good. After that, if you see the Bangladeshi innings, 52 for 1, 64 for 2, they lost wickets at regular intervals. But the good thing for them was that Anamul haque was at the crease, but he was also playing in a sedate manner. And also today, looking at the batting, the way the Bangladeshi openers batted, they really didn't allow Lasit Malinga to settle in by putting his ball through the point region. Kulashekara was driven down the ground, and it was not easy for the Sri Lankan bowlers to bowl to the Bangladeshis. But Bangladeshi, the only good thing for them was Anamul haque was there at the crease, and he stood there he was standing there for quite some time, and in the end he was there, but unfortunately couldn't take Bangladesh over the line. In fact, let's have a look at what happened as far as the last over is concerned. In fact, after Sri Lanka lost wickets at regular intervals, the match came down to the wire. In fact, it was a good over, which was the 19th over yielded 12 runs with Malinga bowling. The first ball was hit for a boundary by Malinga. Probably, I thought Dinesh Chandimal, even though he made some very good changes and we saw some good captaincy coming in from Dinesh Chandimal, the T20 captain, but I thought that he made a slight error of judgment in not giving the last over to Lasith Malinga, and finally he had to resort to bowl to Thisara Perera. Now Thisara Perera, history shows that when it comes to the death overs, Thisara Perera has leaked a lot of runs. So Thisara Perera was finally summoned to bowl the final over, and that was the 20th over. And as I said, Bangladesh were requiring another on the 19th over. Our end of the over 19, Bangladesh were 152 for 5, and 17 runs were required of the final 6 balls. So let me just tell you what exactly happened. Now, as far as this particular over was concerned, was bowled by Thisara Perera, as I said, and Thisara Perera bowled the first ball, and the crowd went berserk as Anamul haque actually very luckily got an edge to the boundary for 4. The next delivery, Anamul haque, he gave himself some rooms outside the off stump, and actually he put it on the offside. He went over cover and got 2 runs. But suddenly the third delivery, there was a wicket, as it was Farhad Reza who was actually run out. What happened was Anamul had actually played the ball, but Reza was out of the blocks, and he was running towards the striker's end. Actually Anamul decided to not to take the run, and by the time it was all over, as Sangakkara had actually given the ball to Thisara Perera, who took the bails, and Reza was gone, run out. So that was not good news for Bangladesh at that time. And so the third delivery is the wicket, and then finally the equation was they needed to get another 10 runs now to win the match. And suddenly the match was put into great life by Anamul haque, and the crowds were really so happy, as what Anamul haque did is this particular ball that Perera bowled, there were only 3 balls left, and it required 10 runs, so it was absolutely a possibility. And Anamul haque, this particular ball, he actually went down the wicket to Thisara Perera and put him over the cover region into the fence. That was a beautiful shot, using his feet and putting him into the fence for a 4. And the very next delivery, that was something that Anamul haque really did in a great manner, because what he did is he actually got this ball. This was not a good delivery from Thisara Perera, unfortunately, with the equation coming to 6 runs to win, and Anamul haque got one more boundary of the next ball, as he actually once again carved it over the ropes for a 4 over the cover region. And finally the Zahur Ahmed Chowdhury Stadium was really I would say they were brimming with excitement, because they probably thought that Anamul haque is going to take them to victory. But Thisara Perera, look at what he did. In comes Thisara Perera. Let me just give you some commentary here. In comes Thisara Perera bowling to Anamul haque. Well, that is, one does not know. It looks like a high full toss that Thisara Perera has bowled to Anamul haque, but let me see what has happened. Well, in fact, Anamul haque has actually hit it, and the ball is in the air. Thisara Perera is trying to get under the catch now. Let's see what happens. And well, he takes the catch, but well, we are all signaling, because as I said, the ball was a thigh-high full toss, but one does not know what the umpires have decided. It's very interesting to see what the umpires have decided, but yes, he has been given out, and it's all over. The last ball thriller finally has been won by Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka win the first T20 match by 2 runs, and Bangladesh go down in the first T20 match by 2 runs. What a match we had here at the Zahur Ahmed Chowdhury Stadium in Chittagong. So that was how the match went. So from here, let me give you probably only 5 minutes, but a very quick report on the match between Australia and South Africa. The first Test match today started at Supersport Park in Centurion. It was Graham Smith, the captain of South Africa, winning the toss and putting Australia into bat. Whether that was a good decision, but does not do. Alex Doolan for Australia making his debut today. Now for Australia, it all started with David Warner and Rogers opening the innings, and David Warner played confidently. He drove Dale Steyn for boundaries, and then after that it was Dale Steyn who got a ball, a full-length delivery, and David Warner was done in as he was clean bowled by Dale Steyn for 12, and that was the first wicket of the series as Dale Steyn gave the breakthrough for South Africa. So Warner gone, bowled Steyn for 12 with 2 boundaries. The next to go was Chris Rogers. Now it was Morne Morkel with his bounce actually hit Rogers on the forearm, the very first delivery, and after that Chris Rogers got a ball which lifted on him, and he was gone, and he was caught by Duminy as the ball lifted on him. He was got by Duminy of the bowling of Morkel for 4, and Australia were in trouble at 24 for 2. Alex Doolan walked in. Alex Doolan started off proceedings very well with a beautiful shot through the cover region for 4, and was settling in down nicely with Shaun Marsh, but Alex Doolan was gone as McLaren using the greenish tinged pitch to absolutely good effect by getting the wicket of Alex Doolan for 27 with 5 4s. So Alex Doolan making his debut on his international debut, making 27 runs with 5 4s. So score was 72 for 3, and then Michael Clarke joined in Shaun Marsh. But Michael Clarke, well, he was staying there, and so both of them, Michael Clarke and Shaun Marsh, were trying to dig Australia out of trouble at that stage. But then Steyn had other ideas, as Steyn actually got a short delivery to Michael Clarke. Michael Clarke was sucked into the hook. He hooked the ball and philandered at fine leg, taking the catch, and Michael Clarke was a goner for 23 with 2 4s. And as I said, South Africa were absolutely over Australia, with the Australian score reading 98 for 4, and it required something of a great recovery from Australia to get themselves out of such a situation. Now that came in the form of Shaun Marsh, who took his time, but any loose deliveries that were served to him, he was really slamming it hard and playing it in a very, very handsome manner. And Shaun Marsh, well, he drew down his drives were very good, and he's pretty strong on the offside, as you know. And Stephen Smith, he found an able ally in Stephen Smith, who settled down with him pretty nicely and beautifully. And Stephen Smith, as we know, in the Ashes series had made 2 test stunts, and Stephen Smith once again carried on in the same vein. In fact, he had a good judgment, leaving the balls well outside the off stump, and slowly this partnership started frustrating the South Africans as it really grew in proportion. And Stephen Smith, as I said, he was leaving the balls well outside the off stump, and then finally got into his groove by playing some beautiful strokes. He played some good strokes down the ground, and he was driving very well, and any loose balls. In fact, he was playing a very controlled innings, where he was really seeing the ball up to the last minute, and Stephen Smith also unveiling some very good strokes. And finally this partnership went on and really started hurting South Africa seriously, as the partnership went on to put an 199 runs unbeaten partnership for the 5th wicket, with Australia definitely I would say snatching the initiative away from South Africa towards the end of the day, with the score at stumps on day 1 of this first test match, which was played at SuperSport Park in Centurion, at 297 for 4, with Shaun Marsh not out 122 with 12 boundaries, and Stephen Smith also his 2nd test century, and Stephen Smith looking good for a century on an unbeaten 91 with 12 4s. 297 for 4 was the final score for Australia on day 1. What a finish! What a great finish to the day for Australia after reeling at 98 for 4 at one stage. As far as the bowling was concerned, Dale Steyn, by any by any figment of an imagination, was the best bowler of the day. 20 overs, 4 maidens, 54 runs and 2 wickets. One on philander, 16 overs, 2 maidens, none for 55. Couldn't get the same swing that he got with the new ball when the old ball was being bowled. Morne Morkel with his bounce, 18 overs, 5 maidens, 1 for 56. Ryan McLaren, 16 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 53. Robin Peterson bowled 10 overs, costing him 34 runs, and Duminy wheeling his arm over for another 10 overs, 1 maiden, none for 34. And Australia finishing strongly after being in a very sorry situation at 98 for 4. Now things look pretty good for Australia. So tomorrow probably Stephen Smith would go on to his century, and then still they have some very good batting still to come, with Brad Haddin, the wicketkeeper, who is in a real form as far as with the bat is concerned. I'm sure he would like to carry on in his Ashes form. For South Africa, they have to pick up some quick wickets. That is going to be the key. But one good thing for South Africa is that the ball is fairly new, so they would be expecting something of what happened today morning against Australia. Well, dear fans and subscribers, because of the shortage of time, I'll have to end my cricket show for today. Thanks for your company, and thanks for your continuous support of the Cricket Happening Show. Your host Ram will see you tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye. Thank you.